As the dark side of the Force consumed the Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, chaos began to reign over the once peaceful galaxy. Supported by Anakin's conversion into the Emperor's new slave Darth Vader and the execution of Order 66, the Jedi Order began to fall. But the Jedi refused to concede, and the survival of two prominent Jedi Masters in Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda gave them hope to save their order. Rescued by the Senate of Alderaan Bail Organa, the Jedi firstly returned to the Jedi Temple and recalibrate the security station's beacon to ensure no other Jedi fell into the trappings of the Empire. But as Master Kenobi learned of the terrible truth of his fallen apprentice, Yoda made a critical decision, choosing to divide them in a bid to stop both Palpatine and Vader. The Jedi obeyed the Grandmaster, heading off to the apartment of Padme Amidala, and despite her reluctance to share the location of the fallen Jedi, Obi-Wan managed to make it to the lava planet of Mustafar. Filled with his lust for power, Vader choked Padme, falsely believing she had joined Obi-Wan, and with little choice, the Jedi Master has to ignite his blade. The former Master and apprentice battle in a ferocious duel, fighting through the mining complex of the planet's surface. Obi-Wan saw a chance to get the upper hand, and leapt from his mining platform and onto the lava bank, declaring the battle to be over due to the advantage of his elevated position. But instead of Vader ignoring his warning and jumping to the loss of his limbs, what if he had told his master that the low ground was superior? Could Vader have preserved his limbs, the loss of which limited his movement? Would Obi-Wan be able to survive? As you'll discover, the low ground could have changed the fate of the Empire and the Rebellion. The two heroes of the Galactic Republic stood on opposing sides of the lava terrain, and General Kenobi believed he had the advantage of the high ground. But this was a hate-fueled Vader, one of the most powerful warriors the universe had witnessed, and he declared that the low ground was actually better. Obi-Wan looked confused when he felt the surface beneath his feet begin to move then collapse. Vader used the Force to lower the ground beneath his former master, and Obi-Wan lost his balance on the loose volcanic sand, giving Vader the chance he needed. The Sith apprentice leapt up and plunged his lightsaber towards Obi-Wan's chest, and even though the Jedi Master deflected some of the strike with his hand, his body slid to the lava river. Vader coldly gazed at his old master for what he hoped to be a final time, but with his last drop of energy and life, Obi-Wan reached out to Padme in the Force and ordered her to leave the planet as quickly as possible. The Senate had been lying still since her attack by Vader, but the invasion of Obi-Wan into her mind had given her the energy to open her eyes. Her loyal droids noticed her movement from close by, and R2-D2 helped C-3PO carry Padme. The astromech then went to the front of the ship and took off before Vader could return. Just as they leave the planet's atmosphere, the hologram of Bail Organa flickered in front of the droid and asked to join him and Yoda on the asteroid colony of Polis Massa. R2-D2 safely steers the ship to its destination, and the Senator arrived to carry Padme inside of the medical station. Also in the facility, Yoda had been meditating in his attempts to find the former Jedi Master Qui-Gon when he sensed Obi-Wan in pain. The Grandmaster felt an urge to rescue him, but he is stopped by Qui-Gon, who told him that Obi-Wan's fate would be left to the Force, and his path was out of their control. Yoda reluctantly complied, and the Jedi joined Bail Organa and the droids, as they watched Padme give birth to Luke and Leia, then die shortly afterwards. Yoda's initial plan to hide the children from the Empire had been scuppered by the absence of Obi-Wan, so they decide to allow the children to become a part of the new rebellion, hoping the Empire will not notice the Force sensitives in plain sight, as Yoda planned to slowly train them in the ways of the Force. Back on Mustafar, Vader had been ordered by Palpatine to stay by the mining area and wait for further instructions. The Lambda-class shuttle of the Sith Lord landed beside him, and the former Jedi Knight bowed to his master, as Palpatine confirmed that he had fulfilled his mission by stepping on the bodies. Then together, they ventured to oversee the construction of the Death Star, failing to notice something they left behind. The body of Obi-Wan had been taken by the current of the lava, finally arriving to a stop amongst the displaced basalt. From a nearby fortress, the remaining members of the Black Sun walked to the body and realised this had been the person the Maul had been obsessed by, and decided to reach out to their leader. The Zabrak had been occupied with escaping the mayhem of Order 66, and the capture of Obi-Wan's body brought a feral grin across his face. Diverting the ship to Mustafar, he could not arrive on the planet quickly enough when he found the Jedi Master floating in a bacta tank just as he had requested. Obi-Wan's eyes fluttered open and the Jedi found himself staring straight into the eyes of Maul, but he could not move from his stasis. His old foe released him and the Jedi slumped to the floor, unprepared for the punishment that he was about to endure. If travelling through the lava river had been painful, it did not compare to the torture he was being subjected to under Maul. The Zabrak utilised all of his dark side training to maximise the agony on Obi-Wan, and he soon fell out of consciousness again. The Jedi awoke again to the face of Maul, and he looked hungry to inflict more pain, but Obi-Wan had endured enough and used the reserve of energy to blast Maul into the walls of the room. The Black Sun guards pointed their double-barreled blaster pistols at the Jedi, and through his blurred vision, he prepared for battle. Obi-Wan kicked one of the pistols out of the hands of the soldiers, and rolling beneath the table, he used the surface as a shield and tried to look for an escape. Through the ornate corridors, the Jedi Master hobbled through the doors until he felt the darkness of Maul drop down in front of him. The Zabrak laughed at his feeble attempt of an escape and crushed the pistol wielded by Obi-Wan in his hand, then ignited his own blade. The Jedi Master meditated in front of the floor and could detect the overconfidence from his opponent as he then summoned the biggest force push he could, and Maul flew out of the wall, creating an exit for the Jedi. Obi-Wan gladly ran out of the fortress, and as Maul recovered from his fall, he took the freighter left behind to relative safety. The Jedi Master felt he could not go back to Yoda, even if he had survived his encounter with Palpatine, embarrassed that he had failed in his attempt to detain Vader. His shame had driven him to return to Naboo, seeking to apologise to the Naboo family, but as he approached the planet, the Empire had already made their presence. A small group of ships blockaded the planet, and the Jedi Master knew the way out would be more difficult than his entry, as he landed in the spaceport of Theed. The Jedi then used a mind trick to hire a speeder, and travelled far from the capital city, heading to the scenic lake country to find the Naboo family. Obi-Wan docked by the shore after a lengthy journey, and as he knocked on the giant doors, the saddened members of the family greeted him. The Jedi Master bowed to them in shame, as he recalled the fate of Padme on Mustafar, and they sought vengeance against the fallen Anakin. Although they did not have regal control over the planet, they had a political influence in the Imperial Senate, and Obi-Wan finally managed to reunite with Bail Organa again. The Alderaan senators relieved to find the Jedi Master alive, and asked him to join his rebellion, which he accepted upon hearing that Yoda had also failed to defeat the Emperor. As the Empire had recorded Obi-Wan to be amongst the casualties of Order 66, the Jedi's first mission was to look for any further survivors, and he decided he could also try to find Maul. The Jedi Master took possession of one of the last Jedi fighters, and knowing Maul was one to move frequently, he headed for another one of the Black Sun's bases, on the planet of Ord Mantell. Equipped with his lightsaber, he cautiously touched down in one of the criminal-run spaceports, then searched for the base. Through the shady streets, the Jedi felt the darkness of Maul beneath a hood, and ignited his blade, much to the shock of the civilians around him. The Zabrak thought Obi-Wan looked weak, and this time he would not allow him to evade him, as they clashed blades. Maul had been right about the Jedi, as his injuries from Mustafar had not completely healed, and it was only his mastery of Sorisu that was keeping Obi-Wan alive. The Jedi began to quickly tire, and Maul sent a hard kick that left Obi-Wan tied amongst the market stalls. The Jedi Master prepared to be one with the Force, as Maul lifted his blade until the body of the Zabrak dropped to the ground, with a vibro knife through his back. Clone Sergeant Hunter had been trying to find a way to Old Ord Mantell City when he found the Jedi in trouble and chose to intervene. Obi-Wan is helped to his feet, and after they had returned from their mission, he asked them if they had wanted to join the rebellion. Having experienced the control of the Empire, the clones agreed to join their cause, hoping to also gain freedom from the pursuing bounty hunter. For their first mission, the clones and the Jedi easily destroyed the Black Sun base and its occupants, as without their leader, they were disorganised and lost. Now Obi-Wan could start to consider repairing his failures. The Jedi Master and the clone recruits managed to escape Ord Mantell and return to Alderaan to the rebel base. The defective clones are a welcome addition to their limited resources, and they detail their adventures on Kamino, then the aftermath. The Senate is particularly interested in the services of Clone Captain Rex, hoping that he could guide them to Ahsoka, and they happen to recently receive a signal from the Outer Rim. Obi-Wan is concerned that the Empire were trying to lure them into their territory, but Organa deemed it to be worth the risk, and supported by Clone Force 99, they head to the planet of Selos. The mining planet seemed to be a perfect hideout for a former clone trooper, as it was filled with acres of barren and desolate plains, and Obi-Wan allows the Force to guide him to a small hideout, where Rex is hiding alongside Gregor and Wolf. Using the comlink he had kept between himself and Ahsoka, it turns out the former Jedi is also in the Outer Rim, and navigating between different planets, but as they ask for a location, the signal appears to be disrupted. The rebels are concerned that she had fallen into the fire of the Imperial fleet, and immediately return to their base, where R2-D2 completed an analysis of the signal to determine she had flown into an Imperial sector. The Jedi rapidly organise a rescue team, taking a rebel freighter to the coordinates, and as they approach it, the sheer size of the fleet dominated the airspace. The Jedi were unsure that Ahsoka had survived, and they assumed that she would have been taken to the largest Star Destroyer, then redirected the ship to attack. In a strategy that Anakin had used, the Jedi draw the fire of the Imperial TIE fighters, then fly into the hangar bay on fire, before leaping out to meet the waiting wave of one of the first battalions of conscripted stormtroopers. The new troops are no match for Clone Force 99, as the Jedi split up to try and look for the former Jedi, when Obi-Wan sensed his old apprentice. The dark side felt more refined since their confrontation on Mustafar, and Obi-Wan knew he would be overpowered in a duel, so leapt away onto some boxes, trying to trick Vader into using the same method as on Mustafar. The Sith apprentice leapt to the same level, and Obi-Wan responded by jumping back down and pulling the ground from beneath Vader to give the arriving Yoda and unconscious Ahsoka time to escape. Stealing an Imperial cargo ship, the rebels manage to leave the Star Destroyer, but their entire route is blocked off by the rest of the fleet, and their communications have been cut off. There was no escape, and for the first time, the rebels saw the Death Star growing closer and closer, and they felt the tractor beam drawing them in. As they landed, they were not met by the expected army, but rather they see the clashing of red blades in the centre of the docking bay. Palpatine had been displeased at the failure of Vader in allowing the Jedi to escape, and the apprentice had tired of his master, so as was the way of the Sith, he attempted to overthrow his master. The energy generated from their titanic duel had blown everyone from the centre of the room, right into the exterior turrets, and the clones looked for a way around to deactivate the tractor beam. The Jedi and Ahsoka emerged from the ramp and pushed against the force swirling around the Sith, then joined the battle. Attacking Palpatine first, the Jedi Masters cleverly allowed Vader to deal most of the attack, preserving their energy, and the Sith Lord gets separated. Rising to his feet, he launched a lightning attack to surprise the Jedi. Vader avoided the assault, and in a bout of force deflection that could cause a seismic shift, they both exploded in separate directions. After disabling the tractor beam, the clones are first to the scene to check upon the combatants. Palpatine's body was nowhere to be found, but the Jedi and Vader lay still on the floor, barely emitting a pulse. The clones carry the Jedi and Vader to their ship, and having also deactivated the disruptor field, they ask for the rebels to provide cover fire, as they finally make their escape. Yoda is the first to awaken from his slumber, and he looked at Vader with regret at what he had become, and the failings of the Jedi Council. Vader may have been victorious in becoming the Dark Lord of the Sith, but he was in the hands of the rebels, who would begin to take over from the Empire, as the power of the low ground was taught to all generations of the Jedi. That is it for What If Anakin declared he had the low ground. If you enjoyed this What If, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.